So I want to thank Curtis, first of all. I don't know, he caught me at a moment of weakness or what, and he approached me about speaking here today. We were actually at the Greek church up in Akron, right on campus. I don't know if he spiked my euro or my soup or what it was, but I'm not known as a public speaker, so I just hope this isn't a slow and painful torture by PowerPoint. I have a very good friend of mine that I've known for a long time, though, and ever since the flyers started coming out for AMATS and had my picture on it, Farzan's picture on it, I'm going to read you a text that this individual sent me this morning. You know, always words of encouragement, right? He says, I have my no-dose and alcohol ready. Break a leg, see you in an hour. So this is what I've been dealing with from folks. Although I do want to thank you for letting me go before my friend Farzan, the executive director up at the Turnpike. I've known Farzan for a real long time. I do have the utmost respect for you, Farzan. I almost feel like the Pretenders up here opening up for the Eagles or something. In all seriousness, I do want to thank you for allowing us to be here today and to speak. I don't know about you all, but I've heard both of them say it now, just from a standpoint of being back here in public and being face-to-face with people. Certainly we've been through something we've never experienced before. Maybe our grandparents did. I don't know, and I won't say this crazy pandemic's in the rearview mirror, but it's certainly in the side view mirror for all of us, and we're certainly thankful for that. So my plan this morning, I'm going to talk about the department as a whole. I'm going to hit on some funding stuff, some of the BIL stuff that you already heard Curtis speak on. I'll speak about the district a little bit, and a big portion of this is going to be on safety, and then at the tail end I got like 10 slides just to hit on some projects that we're doing in the area. So I'm going to take everyone on a short journey through my history here at District 4. I came to the department back in September of '01 from a company called URS up in Akron. I worked there for a little bit over 7 years. I actually interned here at this district in the early 90s. My first job here, I cleaned out underdrains along 77 from 241 down to Route 30, little S10 pickup truck. In regards to my days at URS, it was a fun culture there. You know, we used to do a lot of good things back in the day. We'd have lunches, cookouts at lunches. We'd go out to people's houses. You know, on the weekends, we'd go out after work. It was just about building a culture, I'll say. And it really translated over into our business sense. You know, when we came into work, after doing those types of things, we wouldn't let each other fail. We always had each other's backs. And it really did just translate to how we did things. When I came to the district back in September of '01, it was September 24th of '01. There were some generational differences. Some of the older folks that have retired from ODOT know what I'm talking about. You had people who were stuck in their ways, but I got to give credit. I did see Mo here earlier today. I don't know if he's still here or not, but it was an uphill battle for him back then. Just kind of trying to break down those walls and get through some of those issues that people were having. I think he would agree that things were very siloed, and communication between the different departments certainly wasn't top on the priority list. But things slowly and surely moved in a positive direction over the years, with the biggest changes coming in 2011 when we took our planning and production group to planning and engineering. And it really just kind of forced people to talk. You know, it forced that interaction amongst our groups. This restructure really gave an opportunity for us to just work on ourselves. So at the beginning of that change, or that restructure, we moved 22, 23, 24 people around it. And it was really just looking at what were we doing good, what weren't we doing so good, and just making those changes. Without really realizing that at the time, we were working on that culture of the district. And then we made another big change in 2017 when we folded our construction group into that planning and engineering group, and that's when we became CPA. It was at that point that we really took note that the culture we wanted to create was dependent on the people that were in the room. I credit those people that were willing to step up, embrace the message, and embrace the vision we were trying to create. Whether it was our real estate person, our LPA, in-house design, our construction management group, and that goes for this group that we have here sitting at the table. I'd like to introduce them if I can. We have Lauren Phyllis, who is our planning manager, Laura Beast, who's head of design, Ray Fridley, who's managing our big job out in construction, Mike Simpkins, our district construction engineer, Justin Chesnick, who's my right-hand guy at the district. He's also our PIO person. And of course, Chad Ritt, who I'm sure everybody in the room knows, who heads up our CPA group. It's pretty clear, though, what has changed within the district over the last 20 years. It's our culture. No matter what we're doing, it's how we're doing it that's different. In regard to Director Marchbanks, he is very focused on what is the future of the department. As we move forward, we must be able to maintain our world-class transportation system, continue to focus on safety, and making our system more accessible for all modes of transportation, and look at how the transportation industry is changing moving forward. As a result of this focus, ODOT leadership from around the state developed 4 pillars by which we will advance the department. The new strategy was born out of simply listening to you, the public, our stakeholders, and our partners. The 4 pillars of our strategic advance are safety, accessible, well-maintained, and positioned for the future of Ohio. And with that, I'd like to go over those 4 pillars. The first and most important pillar is a system that is safe. Every improvement or repair to the system ODOT makes has a safety benefit. For decades, engineering safer roads has been central to every maintenance and construction project. However, spurred on by the governor's commitment to highway safety, ODOT has elevated its safety program to the highest level yet. With the dollars made available by the 2019 revenue increase and the additional monies from BIL, ODOT now has the largest DOT safety program in the nation. However, this problem cannot be solved by engineering alone. We must embrace the use of technology and need to be proactive with all stakeholders to educate the public. So ODOT has joined forces with the Department of Public Safety and the Ohio State Highway Patrol to mount a campaign of education and enforcement to end the needless deaths on our streets and highways. The second pillar of ODOT as we look forward is to keep our system well maintained. This pillar focuses on how we can move projects along better, faster, and safer. We will do this by rethinking how we budget, making sure every dollar is allocated where it is truly needed, most by exploring different budget processes and looking at industry best practices for testing and inspection protocols related to extending the longevity and quality of pavements. At ODOT, this is already something we practice every day, with 95 cents of every dollar of funding we receive going to maintaining our existing infrastructure. The third pillar of ODOT is to have a system that is accessible to all who need to use it for personal trips, the movement of goods and products, and travel to recreational destinations. But accessibility also means intermodality. ODOT is more engaged than ever in collaborating with rail, transit, and active transportation systems to advance personal mobility, our state's economy, and overall quality of life. The fourth and final pillar is a system that is positioned for the future. This pillar must look at modernizing the current gas tax revenue structure and long-term attainable strategy for transportation funding. Vehicles are getting more fuel efficient and electric cars are coming. In fact, they're already here. As a result, motor fuel tax revenues will continue to decline. Alternatives on the table include indexing future motor fuel taxes and studying alternatives to replace this tax when gas-powered vehicles are no longer being purchased. This pillar also requires ODOT and its industry partners to be far-sighted scouts, vigilant in identifying and in fact inventing emerging technologies which will enhance the utility of our transportation network and provide strategic advantages for the economy as we look forward to the 21st century. We're already seeing dividends from this investment in future technologies as the department is using drones to do some of our bridge inspections where accessibility can be an issue. I'm confident these 4 pillars and objectives will put ODOT at the forefront of a new and exciting transportation revolution. Everything we do is with one ultimate goal in mind, making the lives of Ohioans better and safer, now but more importantly for generations to come. So real quick on the department, and I'll hit on the district too. ODOT's mission is to provide the safe and easy movement of people and goods from place to place. And we strive daily to reach that goal by improving safety, taking care of what we have, making our system work better, and enhancing capacity. Employing approximately 4,800 people, ODOT is one of Ohio's largest department agencies. Approximately 10% of the agency employs engineers. Ohio has the nation's 5th largest interstate system at more than 8,000 lane miles, Second largest inventory of bridges with over 27,000 structures, it's second only to Texas. And the sixth highest number of vehicle miles traveled, nearly 120 billion annually. Ohio ranks sixth in the nation for its volume of freight at 1.38 billion tons, and third in active rail line miles in the country at 5,338 lane miles. These are certainly some impressive statistics when it comes to Ohio's assets within our infrastructure and our ability to move freight. But most impressive statistic is that 60% of the U.S. and Canadian population is within a day's drive of our beautiful state. This is the statistic that makes our state the nucleus of the overall easy movement of people and goods from place to place. So in regards to District 4, we're one of 12 districts in the state. We cover Ashtabula, Mahoning, Trumbull, Portage, Stark, and Summit counties. We have offices in each one of those counties, as well as 60 to 70 construction field offices during the height of the season. Our administration group, our highway management, human resources, our construction, planning, and engineering offices are all located right on Arlington over there in Akron. By comparison, District 4 carries its own weight. Considering the category of bridges carrying an interstate, we rank number 1. In the number of lane miles maintained, we also rank number 1. In the category of inspected bridges, we rank 3rd. District 4 maintains more than 20% of the signals across the state. As a matter of fact, District 4 maintains more signals than any of the other districts. At District 4, we maintain over 4,900 lane miles of interstate and state highways, and this is enough to get you to California and back. All right, let's dive into funding a little bit. I'm going to echo some of the things that Curtis had said earlier. In regards to funding, I'm going to hit on ODOT's funding structure. How does the state motor fuel tax trends look in the state? As you can imagine, vehicle miles traveled is a key component, which Curtis hit on a little bit. I'll hit on the BIL and IIJA, and I'll speak briefly on Ohio's NEVI plan. We do understand that there's struggles with the BIL and just getting monies, but we're very excited to partner with Federal Highway, the industry, and our local partners. As Curtis said, in November last year, President Biden signed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. I'm going to refer to it as BIL from here moving forward, which is the largest infrastructure funding package in our nation's history. It provides $550 billion over fiscal years 22 to 26 in new federal investments in infrastructure, including roads, bridges, mass transit, water, infrastructure, resiliency, and broadband. So we're currently in fiscal year 2023. In regards to ODOT's funding structure, as I stated, we're excited about the additional money from BIL. The highest amount of dollars represented by that orange slice is the federal part of the pie chart at approximately $1.7 billion, which goes towards our major bridge, major rehab, track programs, and multi-lanes. The second highest component in this chart is represented by the blue slice at approximately $1.6 billion, which is our state revenue, the largest being the state motor fuel tax. And how are we using those dollars? As you can see, the largest component represented, again, by that orange slice goes to preserve and maintain the system that we own, essentially maintaining our current infrastructure work. Approximately $1 billion goes to our operating functions. This includes payroll, equipment, asphalt, materials, and salt, which is identified by that blue slice. As you can see, we have a very significant safety program. As I stated earlier, it's the largest in the country at about $183 million annually. We also issue bonds, approximately about every 18 months. And as you can imagine, when we issue bonds, we have to pay a debt service, and with that, we have to set aside a specific amount of money that goes to the previous year's debt. The other slice I'd like to point out here is the gray slice, which identifies the local programs, which is approximately $473 million in federal pass-through to ensure our local partners can maintain their systems as well. As I stated earlier, the state revenue is approximately $1.6 billion. So where have we fared since the beginning of the pandemic? Essentially from February of 2020 through March of 2022, the state as a whole has seen over $380 million in less than expected state motor fuel tax revenues. This is due to the fact that vehicle miles traveled are a key component to our funding structure. As you can imagine, the biggest impact to the consumption of motor vehicle fuels are traffic volumes. From the average daily traffic of 2019, which is the green line up on that chart, you can see where passenger vehicle and commercial truck volumes have been from the onset of the pandemic through 2021 and into 2022. While the passenger vehicle volume has inched closer to the 2019 average line, our commercial truck volume have continued to exceed that average, which, as you may recall, with Ohio's passage of House Bill 62 in April of 19, our diesel rate of fuel increased by 19 cents. This increase and everyone's transition to shopping online has certainly been a big factor on why our state motor fuel tax did not decline further. As I previously mentioned, when we modified our forecast starting in late 2020, we looked outward with the assumption that these impacts would be felt for years to come. This is a very informative graph that gives you a futuristic look of where we were planning to be at before and after the pandemic. It depicts plans from fiscal year 21 through 25. The dark green line at the bottom is pre-House Bill 62 levels. So for ODOT, we used to receive about $1.2 billion annually from the state motor fuel tax. The dark blue line at the very top is with the passage of House Bill 62. We were very excited at the time to come in front of everybody with a $1.7 billion outlook every year. And then the pandemic hit and pulled the rug out from all of us. So when the pandemic hit, one of the very first actions from the director was for us to take a hard look at ourselves, and we cut projects in anticipation of a reduced dollars from the state motor fuel tax. So that orange line is that initial COVID forecast. And then the green line, the lighter green line, is revised forecast. So you can see we're slowly bouncing back, but still well below where we had expected to be. So for BIL, this chart shows you our original federal estimate was about $1.4 billion annually. Those were the FAST Act levels that were passed back in 2016. With BIL, we are expecting a 20 to 25% increase in year one, which totals for our core federal formula at about $214 million. And then on top of that, BIL incorporated a bridge formula program, and that is an additional $104 million annually to ODOT and our local partners, which is well above our planned estimate. While the federal government requires the state to invest $14.5 million of those funds into bridges owned by municipalities, townships, and counties, Ohio is opting to invest almost 8 times that amount. ODOT funding specifically for bridges maintained by the state's 88 county engineers will increase from $34 million to $74 million annually. Municipal-owned bridges funding will increase to $18.5 million from $11 million each year. Combined with other programs that aid local governments, ODOT's local bridge annual investment will increase to $112.5 million. By the end of BIL in 2026, we are expecting or anticipating over $330 million in additional federal revenue, so we're very excited for these times over the next 5 years. So what did this mean for our federal formula programs? For our bridges and highways, we are expecting over $8.8 billion in federal revenue receipts during this 5-year period. And then for those modal components and future technology, we're expecting another $1.5 billion for transit, airports, and our electric vehicle charging programs. So in regards to electric vehicle charging, we also look forward to receiving the funding from the $7.5 billion designated for electric vehicle charging stations, which are critical to accelerating the relatively new EV industry. Ohio is estimated to receive $20 million annually for electric chargers. ODOT, Drive Ohio, and industry partners have worked on our NEVI charging plan for the state of Ohio, and it was just approved last month by Federal Highway Department. The administration is working to attract EV manufacturing to Ohio, and ODOT is part of that strategy. A key component involves establishing a robust electrical vehicle charging infrastructure. Per our plan, we initially seek to build stations along interstate corridors identified as alternative fuel corridors. Interstate corridors will be the focus for the first year of program funds. EV chargers shall be located within 1 mile of a designated AFC on public or private property. EV chargers must be open to the public and can include commercial vehicles fueling infrastructure. Drive Ohio is working on an engagement plan for the duration of the program, which I believe is 5 years. They plan on reaching out to the MPO partners to coordinate meetings with them and their constituents. And I just want to point out, I think there are like 6 of the first 30 phase 1 priority charging sites I think are within your area, Curtis. I don't know if you guys have been reached out on that yet. But so this map, what it's showing is all the interstates, 71, 76, 77. I think Route 30 is on there and 33 is down there too, coming out of Columbus. And those are the routes that were identified as those alternative fuel corridors. So the plan is to have a charging station every 50 miles along each one of those routes, and then where those are at that 50-mile range, within a mile of what that route is. The big green blobs on the map are actually where there are chargers right now. That was a good question, Chad. So then that's that 50-mile radius around where each one of those are located. One key initiative we kicked off in January of 22, one of the grants through that FAST Act, it's called the Surface Transportation System Funding Alternative Grant. I don't know about you guys, but Federal Highway and us, we sure do love our acronyms, don't we? ODOT was awarded $2 million from Federal Highway to pursue an 18-month study. And what this study is hoping to accomplish, because of having more fuel-efficient vehicles, the gas tax from both the state and federal levels long-term will not be sustainable for the demands and needs for our infrastructure inventory. So with this grant and our vendor, it's going to be geared towards public outreach and polling of the Ohio driver to determine what an alternative would look like. We've worked very closely with Federal Highway, our western and eastern states, and just looked at the programs that they have piloted, such as a vehicle miles traveled, a road user charge program, or a mile-based user fee structure. So the intent is to not roll out a pilot program, but to simply determine what's next for our state, to help us move away from that reliance on that gas tax alone. So we're very excited. We've had a couple of external advisory committee meetings. We have representatives from AAA, the Trucking Association, and county engineers. There's a lot of moving parts with this. There's a lot of involvement to really just determine what's best for the state of Ohio for alternative revenues. Okay, let's dive into safety. As part of our mission statement, as I stated earlier, we focus on the easy and safe movement of people and goods. I talked about the 4 pillars, the one being safety. I stated many times how we are infusing more money into our safety program. Now I'm going to share with you information on the state of safety in Ohio, including trends and some programs. How we're looking at ways to prevent crashes and improve the working environment for thousands of construction and roadside workers. I'd encourage everyone in this room to think about the information we're sharing here today and contact us at the district or at central office if you have any ideas on how we can improve things. Curtis hit on this earlier as well. I'm going to start off with just a few major crash trends. The most important is the fact that traffic deaths are rising across our state. This chart shows traffic deaths going back to 1936 in Ohio. What it shows is after decades of steady decline, traffic deaths have started going back up. Traffic deaths rose 10% last year. There were 1,356 deaths compared to 1,230 in 2020. They also rose 7% the year before. In totality, traffic deaths have risen 7 out of the last 8 years. Lately, traffic deaths on local roads have been rising faster. This table and the chart show the distribution of fatalities by state and the local maintained system. In general, more than half of all traffic deaths from 2017 through 2021 occurred on locally maintained roads. These numbers just emphasize the need for all of us to work closely with our local government partners. We need to work together if we want to improve the safety in the state of Ohio. It's also helpful to understand where the hot spots are when making these investments. Between 2015 and 2019, 43% of Ohio fatalities and serious injuries occurred on arterial roads and mid-level speeds and multiple lanes. This is also where most of our pedestrian-related deaths and serious injuries happen. If we focus more resources on making arterials safer, we can prevent a lot more of these crashes. But it's not just fatalities that are rising, other crashes are rising too. This chart shows you the major crash types that we track in Ohio, comparing 2020 and 2021. Up until last year, total crashes and serious injuries had been going down, even though traffic deaths were rising. Last year, all crashes went up. So in 2021, overall travel in Ohio was down about 6%. Commercial motor vehicle traffic rose by about 13%. Though keep in mind, truck traffic is a smaller percentage of the overall total. Like in 2020, deaths last year should have dropped due to the fact that traffic volumes decreased. Common sense would tell us that when traffic volumes go down, crashes should also go down, but that hasn't been the case. It's important to remember that crashes have overlapping causes. Every crash involves a variety of factors and opportunities for prevention, from the condition of the road to the choices made by the driver. This chart shows you the major crash types involved in a traffic death. Year in and year out, the same things are always at the top. Roadway departure continues to be the highest fatality crash type, followed by unbelted drivers and passengers, intersections, speed, drug and alcohol, and younger drivers. We think distracted driving is also a significant factor, but it's underreported in the crash data because it's difficult to prove. So in looking at these overlapping causes, if we focus on a crash type like roadway departures, what we find is that 32% of these types of crashes where there was a fatality or serious injury also involved alcohol and drugs. 37% were unbelted, 35% was due to speed, and 31% was below the age of 25. And what this illustrates is the need to consider enforcement as well as engineering solutions. So next let's talk about distracted driving. I have 4 kids that are in college, and this is a constant conversation in my house. So this is a topic, I would tell you this is a pet peeve of mine, just with distracted driving. We all see it as we're driving down the road, we're headed down the highway, we see the car in front of us, weaving over the lane lines, you're stopped at a red light, light turns green, person in front of you doesn't take off. Justin and I just experienced that this morning. You're going down a 2-lane road, and next thing you know, the car coming from the other direction is weaving across that center line. And it's all for one reason: people are driving distracted. We want to make distracted driving as socially unacceptable as driving while impaired by drugs and alcohol in the state of Ohio. This year, ODOT crews have continued to be struck at an alarming rate. Our legal and legislative teams are working with the General Assembly and law enforcement on several initiatives and policy changes for our work zones. Distracted driving isn't just about texting and talking anymore. People have mini computers in the palm of their hands. They can stream video, play games, use apps, and browse the internet while driving, all of which we've documented people doing. We're pro-technology, especially when it comes to our navigation apps, but it's important to set your devices before you go. And if you need to adjust more than a single touch or single swipe, then you really need to pull over. Not all distractions are equal, though. The ones that take your eyes off the road and your mind off driving for longer periods of time are definitely the distractions to avoid. So if you took your eyes off the road to send a text message, and that text message took you 7 seconds to type up and hit send, essentially you'd be traveling down that roadway at 60 miles an hour if you were doing 60 miles an hour, about the length of 2 football fields. Without your eyes on the road, not paying attention. Essentially you're driving blind for that 7 seconds. All of us watch television, and there's commercials that are irritating and annoying, but you remember them. And that's part of our challenge, to make people remember and more aware of what's going on out on our roadways. Thursday, May 12, 2022, I've been in this business for 29 years. And this was one of the most horrific accidents involving one of our guys. I would like everyone to know that the gentleman was driving that truck. He is on the mend. Someone was truly looking over him that day. He isn't 100%, but he's healing. So that's what that truck looked like on the right-hand side after that accident, after we pulled it out of the ditch. Truly horrific. Last year there were 11,611 known crashes involving electronic devices. However, because distractions are difficult to prove, crashes often get attributed to something else. If we include crashes involving other unknown, the number of crashes grows to more than 46,000 last year. This number includes 19,056 injuries and 738 fatalities. Other unknown was added to the Ohio crash report in 2019. We suspect officers are increasingly using this code because they suspect but cannot easily prove the driver was distracted in a crash. All of these were caused, for the most part, because of excessive speed, unassured clear distances, and distractions or impairments. Those are all things that are solvable. They are not necessary. There's one thing we can't control, that's the behavior of the motorists driving on our roadways and through our zones. Through the years, the Ohio Department of Transportation has lost 162 workers. Those 162 people that were represented in those crashes, those people were husbands and wives, fathers and mothers, brothers, sisters, and they all represent family. Tragedy, pain, and heartache, that is not necessary. It's preventable. So my message to you is to help us spread the word. So please get the word out to continue to do our part. In my mind, it's simple. Slow down, move over, pay attention, put down the distractions. So let's talk about our action plan a little bit. So what is ODOT and its partners doing to prevent these crashes and reverse these entrenched trends? As I've said many times, with the passing of House Bill 62 and the additional BIL monies, ODOT is infusing a record amount of money into our safety infrastructure, the bulk of which goes to spot safety locations and systematic safety improvements, proactively applied to specific roadway types with a pattern of fatalities and serious injuries. These investments include the Governor's Intersection Safety Program over a 5-year period. ODOT is investing about $450 million in improving safety at Ohio intersections. This includes 150 intersections total in urban, suburban, and rural areas. That means more turn lanes, better signs and signals, and other intersection improvements like roundabouts that reduce the frequency and severity of crashes. I'm a huge fan of roundabouts, and according to our safety program, it's raining roundabouts right now in the state of Ohio. Fall marks the beginning of our formal safety application reviews at ODOT. This year, the department received a record 34 applications for roundabouts, signaling their widespread acceptance as a tool to prevent serious crashes. Whoops. Roundabouts are safer because they're designed to slow drivers. They nearly eliminate right angle, left turn, and head-on collisions, which are the most dangerous type of intersection crashes. Roundabouts are growing in popularity because they work. They take your conflict points from 32 down to 8, and they're 20% more efficient. National research shows that roundabouts achieve a 44% reduction in crashes and reduce serious injury and deadly crashes by nearly 82% at two-way stop intersections. When roundabouts replace a traffic signal, this research has found a 48% reduction in crashes and nearly 80% drop in serious injury and deadly crashes. We're also making an investment of $36 million in high visibility pavement markings. Research shows the technique can significantly improve the visibility of pavement markings, especially under dark and wet conditions. Studies show the markings can reduce crashes by up to 46%. ODOT will also act to recess the markings into the pavement to extend the maintenance life of the treatment. Ohio is expanding its use of centerline rumble stripes on high-speed, two-lane roadways across the state as well. Between 2018 and 2020, Ohio had 533 deaths involving head-on sideswipe crashes. Research studies have found that centerline rumble stripes can reduce head-on and sideswipe crashes by 45% and reduce other crash types by almost 10%. So ODOT is investing both in education and enforcement as well. Let me share a few examples of those efforts. With regard to Ohio's Move Over law, ODOT has worked with its partners at AAA, the Ohio State Highway Patrol, and Ohio Turnpike to develop toolkits. The toolkit includes web-page banners, posters, flyers, talking points, and other artwork that can be rebranded with your organization's logo and distributed through your communication channels. We've developed fact sheets on the dangers of distracted driving and developed directions on how to silence your mobile phone's notifications while driving. We're also developing a video that organizations can use to educate their employees, families, and friends. We're also concerned about the significant rise in work zone related fatalities and serious injuries and the impact it has on the safety of our workforce and yours. As I stated earlier, serious injuries and fatalities have been rising since 2019. Last year, deaths nearly doubled in our work zones. To boil it all down, the root cause of work zone crashes, I would summarize, would be speeding differential, and distractions. The culture around distracted driving needs to change, and we need everyone to put down the distractions. At District 4, we've made it a point to highlight negative impacts distracted driving has had on our workforce. We have made videos with our highway workers telling their stories when they were struck while working for ODOT. We have posted videos of family members urging public to move over and slow down for their loved ones. We've partnered with AAA, the Highway Patrol, to discuss the importance of paying attention while driving, and worked with the Highway Patrol to perform target enforcement of the slow down, move over law in our work zones. In early March, ODOT partnered with the Highway Patrol and held a press conference to bring awareness of what was occurring on our work zone on I-77 in Coventry Township. We've worked closely with the Highway Patrol and Summit County Sheriff's Office this year to crack down on speeding and distracted driving. That work zone is posted at 55 miles an hour over a 20-hour period, and normally those time frames were in the morning, 9:30 to 11:30, 10 to noon, right around in there. So over that 20 hours, we ticketed 150, I think a little bit more than 150 people for excessive speeding in the work zone. We weren't ticketing people unless they were doing at least 20 over, so 75 mile an hour and beyond. People in excess of 100 miles an hour, many times, a lot in the 90s. 2 motorcycles doing over 160. And you just ask yourself, why? So one of the big things we are excited about in District 4 is a photo enforcement in work zones. We initiated this effort up here in District 4. What we did was we looked at a number of the states that surround us and what they're doing as far as photo enforcement in their work zone. We kind of landed on what Pennsylvania's doing as well as Maryland. We're working with the legislators to permit a video speed enforcement pilot project in that zone on 77. This will be a game changer for protecting our employees and the contractors as well as the public. Okay, 10 more slides and I'm done. Or you're done with me, I guess I should say. So on to our current and upcoming construction projects. I'm sure everyone is tired of hearing me talk, so I'm going to have Mike Simpkins come up and talk. I kid you, Mike. So State Route 82 and Chamberlain Road in Manaway Township. This summer the department completed a $2 million project to place a roundabout at the intersection of 82 and Chamberlain Road. The roundabout replaced the more traditional 4-way stop intersection. Safety study was completed and revealed a total of 23 crashes occurring at this intersection, with over 50% of all the crashes resulting in an injury. The department is putting the final touches on the $6 million I-76 Talmadge Road, Mogadore Road reconstruction project in Brimfield Township. The project included widening and resurfacing of Talmadge Road, as well as reconstructing a new interchange along I-76 westbound at Mogadore Road. This project will improve safety and help relieve congestion along Talmadge Road where new development has occurred. The entire project should be completed by December. Earlier this summer, the department completed 2 large projects in Summit County. The first was the $60 million pavement reconstruction of State Route 8 between Graham Road and 303. This project replaced old deteriorating pavement along the heavily traveled corridor. That was a fight to get that one done, Stevie, wasn't it? We chased money for that one for a long time. The second project is the $25 million project to reconstruct the 76 Worcester Road State Street interchange. That was also completed this summer. This safety improvement project added a 3rd lane in each direction on 76 and eliminated the Worcester Road interchange, which was in close proximity to that Kenmore Lake, creating a dangerous weed condition. Now motorists will utilize State Street to travel to and from the Magic City and I-76. Currently, work is progressing on the district's largest project, the $160 million reconstruction of the Akron Beltway and Central Interchange. We're drawing to a close on year 2 of the 4.5-year project. Currently, the contractor is reconstructing I-77 northbound between US 224 and the Central Interchange, and on I-76 westbound between Princeton Avenue and East Avenue. By this winter, I-77 northbound pavement should be completed with all northbound ramps reopened. In 2023, work will primarily shift to the median portion of I-76, and construction will continue on the massive flyover bridges at the Central Interchange. By late summer of 2023, the new ramp from I-76 eastbound to State Route 8 northbound should be online, and in 2024, reconstruction work will occur on I-76 eastbound and I-77 southbound. Shifting to the south, we're currently ahead of schedule on the 77 widening project in Coventry Township. By this winter, the median and southbound lanes should be completely reconstructed, leaving just the northbound lanes to be finished next year. The completion date for this project is the summer of 2024. This fall, we're selling a project to replace the 77 structure over State Route 21 in Copley Township. This $10 million project will begin construction in the spring of 23. During the bridge replacement, 2 lanes of traffic will be maintained in each direction on I-77 using crossovers. Looking ahead at some of our larger projects that will be active in the future, the district plans on selling 2 projects over the next couple years to widen 77 from GHENT Road to the Iowa Turnpike from 4 to 6 lanes. These 2 projects combined will total an investment of over $120 million for northern Summit County. The first project will sell in the summer of 2023 and will widen from Everett Road to the Iowa Turnpike, and the second project will sell in the fall of 24 and widen 77 from GHENT Road to Everett Road. This 9-mile stretch of highway is the last 4-lane section of I-77 between Canton and Cleveland that has not been widened. State Route 8 high-level bridge has been on the books for a number of years now, but plans are in place to replace the large State Route 8 high-level bridge connecting Akron and Cuyahoga Falls. A new northbound structure will be built first to the east of the current bridges. This will allow for 3 lanes of traffic to be maintained in each direction throughout the construction. And hot off the presses, we just found out last week that we got funding for this bridge, so in the spring of next year, we will be selling this $140 million job, right around in there. The I-76 Kenmore Leg is the last piece of the pie as it relates to our beltway work that we've been doing in and around Akron. That 13-mile box that includes 77, 76, I-277, and US 224. The district is currently trying to secure construction funds to make modifications to this Kenmore Leg, essentially making the condition you've been driving in for the last 10 years permanent. So my last slide, this is an interesting project. The district has completed a study to look at capacity and congestion concerns along I-77 and State Route 8 southbound through the Central Interchange. We did extensive stakeholder coordination with AMATS, the City of Akron, and the University of Akron. So I know this is hard to see up on this slide, but the far left side of that upper map is State Route 8 going into and out of the Central Interchange. This BRAID project, key aspect, is a ramp braid that separates the Carroll Street entrance ramp from the exit to the Central Interchange. Today, this segment fails because the weave distance is too short with too much traffic volume. This ramp braid addresses the safety and congestion issues that plague this area. When this project is completed, it will reduce congestion and improve safety. And that's all I have. Listen, our group's going to be sticking around afterward. If anybody has any questions about anything, we'd be more than happy to have a conversation with anything you may have. I mean, I can take questions now if somebody has anything now. But I know I went a little bit long. All right, very good. Thanks, everybody.